So we are live, and a good afternoon. My name is Nina Shadforth. I'm the Senior Collections Curator at Caloundra Regional Gallery, and I'm your host From the Artist Talk today. I'd first like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are broadcasting today and your respective country where you guys are coming from today. Recognise that the Kabi Kabi and Jinabara people's country of the coastal plains and hinterlands of the Sunshine Coast have always been and continue to be places of cultural, social, spiritual and economic significance. And I would like to pay my respects to elders, past, present and emerging. So today's episode we are joined by the BOOreaucrats, Melbourne-based artists Benjamin Shepherd and Peter Burke, finalists in this year's Sunshine Coast National Art Prize with their digital work, Science of Agreement. So welcome, Peter and Ben. Just a little bit about you for our audience. The BOOreaucrats are a collaborative duo performing clichéd roles as institutional officials. Dressed in dark suits and often carrying briefcases, they investigate the investigators, examine the examiners, and perform absurd yet purposeful gestures that result in documentary photographs, films, mock official documents, and other bureaucratic oddities. Melbourne-based artists Benjamin Shepherd and Peter Burke, each with their own diverse practices, come together as the BOOreaucrats. Sometimes ridiculous in their self-deprecation and sometimes quietly reflective. They explore cultural origins and inherited identity narratives with a curious nod to the bureaucracies that organise us. So, welcome, Peter and Benjamin.
Thank you, Nina.
So let's start with the name, the BOOreaucrats. So on face value, for me, it's a mix of the spooky and the authority, but what's the underlying aim? How did it come about? What inspired it? Yeah, can you tell us?
Do you want me to do that, Peter?
There you go, Ben.
So it's a kind of satellite project that came out of another one, which had as its goal a kind of new curatorial model. So the idea with the Bureau for the Organisation of Origins, which is the acronym then becomes BOO, that was actually invented by one of the collaborators on the inaugural project. Her name's Linda Choi, and we were workshopping what different names could be and how the acronym could play with those institutional models and also be a bit funny, but also play on the fear-mongering that was happening at the time. So that project, which we won't dwell on for too long, was designed as a platform for people to make work about identity and nationalism and things like that, and the complexities around it. So the BOOreaucrats then, because the idea of that was set up as it had its own kind of mission statement. So a collective of the initial collaborators came together to, let's say, formulate a kind of manifesto, but being a spurious bureaucratic entity, the idea was it was a kind of mission statement. So there's a mission statement you can see online. We can link to it later if you like. But
yeah.
That outlies the kind of the definition of that thing, which is not about us. But as with any, idealized collaborative art project, Peter and I ended up driving a lot of the outcomes for that. And so as a way of us getting dealing with those issues, but not making, sort of differentiating what our gestures from that initial project, we became the BOOreaucrats, which actually stemmed from an early project of Peter's, which got him involved in the initial Bureau for the Organisation of Origins, which is this wonderful project called Mishap that perhaps we could talk about.
Yeah, do you want to just touch on that, Peter, just so we've got that?
Yeah, sure. So I guess the project that Ben's referring to is a kind of playful performative work where I take on the persona of a business man. I don't normally wear a suit or carry a briefcase, but for this particular project and some other ones I've done, I take on different characters or personas, and I guess try and I invert sort of the sort of meanings of these things that come, the symbols that a briefcase or a business suit might symbolize. So it's a business suit or a briefcase might symbolize order and structure and the powers that organize us, as Ben was saying earlier. And in this briefcase work, I spilt in Shibuya Crossing and other street corners, Melbourne and in India and Shanghai, the papers from my briefcase on the street. And the idea was to see, it's a little bit of a Good Samaritan story as well, but how people interact with that kind of mishap. So in some cases, people ran to help me pick up the papers, chase them in the wind down the street. And in other situations, I was left on my own to pack up the contents of the case. Yeah, so there's this kind of juxtaposition of order and control and bureaucracy symbolized by the suit and the briefcase, but also this playful interaction and chaos and things falling apart, losing control, which is kind of what happens when you interact with bureaucracy.
Yes. Yeah, I won't say any further. So who is Benjamin and who is Peter? And, you know, the dynamic of you two working together, you know, in your own practices, is there much influence in the work that you're doing today? Do you want to talk to us about that?
Well, we share a lot, but we are quite different. So I think you can describe us both as multidisciplinary artists. And if you were to look us up online, you'd see, you know, drawings and paintings and performances and whatnot. So this particular collaborative project we've been doing for about 7 or 8 years, something like that, Peter. And the kind of drive for it, I think it in some ways it stemmed from that original Boo project, in that it's just dealing with the identity politics that are so divisive and problematic in Australia. I'd say currently, but it seems to have been going on for quite a while, and continues to. There's some pretty horrific scenes in Melbourne the other day.
Yeah, so awful.
So trying to deal with those issues in a thoughtful way, whilst maintaining a kind of accessibility through the playfulness that I'd say that Peter brings. This wonderful, there's a kind of joy, I think. I probably think too much, and Peter pulls me back into the space of, no, you know, this the sort of play of it. Yeah, does that answer the question? A bit.
Yeah, a bit. No, that's all right. And Peter?
What was the question?
I was asking about, you know, your individual practices. That's sort of where I was going, and, you know, who each of you are in your own worlds and your own creative worlds, and when you come together, you know, what influences do you both bring in? And
so yeah, I like Ben, I've worked across a lot of different media. I began with painting and drawing as what I kind of studied, but probably about 15-20 years ago, I became, just a little bit of a picture, a way to explain this, that in my painting and drawing, a lot of my work was quite representational. So I'd really be quite excited about making things look real. So you could almost pick something off a drawing or a painting with sort of that sort of trompe l'oeil trick going on. And that kind of was something that I brought into some of the things I used to make, like tabloid newspapers that I would print and send out onto the street. And I really love this sort of transition from being something that you looked like something was real in a painting, but actually you could actually have in the hand it was real. And then it opened up lots of conversations about you know, in fictional newspaper, what is real and what's constructed in the news.
Fake news before fake news became a thing.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that word. And I tried to capture some of those things through making objects, and then also took on characters that might deliver the newspapers, you know, the paper boy, for example. And I really started to get interested in the performative aspect and being on the street and being interactive. And then how to document or capture those through photography or video became a thing for me. And I guess that's how Ben and I have started to work together, by exploring ways photography or video capture a live sort of work, whether it's staged or on the street or whatever.
And in your work for the art prize, so two questions actually. So how did you hear about the art prize, and you know, what was who suggested to put it forward as a possible entry, and then to find out you're a finalist?
Okay, I think I saw the application. As an artist, I'm always looking at, I think Ben is the same, but looking out for opportunities to show our works, because we're not part of a commercial gallery system. So I guess we're very independent and work in different way of presenting, explore different ways to present our work. We organise our own exhibitions or apply for artist-run spaces, etc. And these sort of things like the art prize are a great opportunity to show your work in a different forum, a different state. We're in Melbourne. And I think we were rejected last year. So we came back.
No, I can't verify that, but I'm glad that you
Let another go.
rejection, and you came back. So
yes,
and it's good, and
we've got lots of rejections. There's nothing personal.
But just for our audience, this is the work Signs of Agreement. It's a video still for the catalogue, but do come in and have a look at it. It was very entertaining. It was comedic. It was a combination of factless stuff going on and care, like the lint roller towards the end to make sure that Ben's suit was all nice and pristine, and the comb. So it was lovely watching you two dancing around in really sort of awkward kind of poses, and there was something going on but just couldn't quite work it out until the end. So can you talk us through the conceptual origin and the development of that particular work, and give us a bit of a behind the scenes kind of.
The pretty key work, I think, for us, because most of what we've done over the last 7 years was to, I suppose, to use that overused word, juxtaposed ourselves as faceless bureaucrats in locations where those locations were doing a lot of the work. So we'd been to places like Wadjamup in Western Australia, Rottnest Island.
Some pretty interesting locations.
Like Mungo, a few places around Melbourne, Ballarat. We're looking forward to doing a shoot up your way in a few weeks' time. But the outcomes were often, as Peter just mentioned earlier, a sort of photographic record of us out of place, investigating something in some weird, not quite right situation. This is the first live action performance we've done.
Okay.
Which just to give a shout out to some of my ex-students, came out of a little project that they were running after hours, which is just such a wonderful thing. They set up their own evening session of performances where they did an open call out. And one of my colleagues, who's amazing, Ruth O'Leary, encouraged me, as she did, to get involved. So we came in after work, and I wasn't sure what to do, because at the time I was deep into my drawing practice. And then I called Peter and said, hey, my students are doing this performance thing. What do you think about doing one of our gestures live? And so Peter agreed, and we tested it with the students, and it went quite well, with just a few little to kick us off and get that activity happening. The chief thing being that we're standing on each other's toes.
Yeah.
So there's this cooperation whilst getting in each other's way effectively, and a strange sort of acceptance of that, which is I think a pretty interesting way to think about the way bureaucracies work and whatnot. But anyway, we did it again for the Not Fair Art Fair for Das Kapital, a wonderful project, and again it was well received. So we decided to get a mate to video it, and we sort of formalized it into the video that you see now in the gallery.
Mm. Yeah, congratulations. It's great. I really enjoyed it, and I know, you know, people sort of coming in the gallery space as well. So yeah, it's really I love it. So thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. It's really good. So I was going to talk about how much of it's drawn from real experience, but we kind of touched on that. So in terms of the locations and the BOOreaucrats and doing sort of a live kind of element to your practice, is there more of that to come in live?
Maybe. Yeah, I think we need to
share or not share yet.
Well, I just think a lot of it gets down to logistics at this stage, where we're both working for art institutions and have busy lives and things, and it's about trying to find these moments. So when we come up to see the show in a few weeks' time, we've made a few extra days to try and put something together up there. We don't know what that is yet, but there will definitely be an outcome up on the sunny coast.
Very good. And when I was sort of going through seeing your work and just sort of looking around and scouting around, seeing the imagery that you've got on the website there, and I immediately thought of other projects like Rob Sitch's Utopia, and you know, that whole what can I say, how they you know, sort of look at the absurdity of bureaucracy. And so has there been any influences for you both in what you do?
Well, that's a great question. I wish I had like the succinct answer, Nina. In my work, I think I'm quite influenced by those little moments in pop culture, whether it's anything from sort of early Andy Warhol critiques through the media, or shows like Utopia. And one I was actually looking at early on, just in terms of bureaucracy and the idea of films and businessmen, as we are in our signs of agreement, dressed up as businessmen. You know, I was early on looking at films like Playtime by Jacques Tati, French film director, who has a lot of characters in suits, in institutions, but things go wrong. You know, lift doors bang in their face. Their feet squeak on floors, on shiny office floors. Their umbrellas get trapped in rolling door, those rotating,
the revolving doors.
Yeah. So I often am influenced by all those mishaps that happen in these institutions that are supposed to be so organized and seamless.
Yeah, that's right.
So often I'm absorbing, you know, particularly, you know, even on all those TV references, but I'm also trying to find, and I'm sure Ben might have his opinion on this too, but how do you express these sort of ideas, but not as comedy. There's another layer that an art's a slightly different, is a different language. I'm not sure what I'm always looking for, but I just know when it hits the right note.
Yeah, okay. And do you do, like just a little voice memo if those sort of moments pop up, or, to kind of draw on a bit later when you come to do?
Yeah, I do make notes of them, and Ben and I often chat about the subtlety that we're aiming for. Do you have any thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're often forwarding each other little things that pop up in the zeitgeisty space of social media or exhibitions that pop up around the place. I think from my perspective, it goes deeper back to that parent project of the Bureau, this kind of idea of a bureaucracy as a way of representing the national self. We've got romantic ideas of how we conceive of ourselves. We stand under flags and wave them and whatnot. And but essentially we are a collection of businesses that are managed by a bureaucracy. And I think to be reminded of that when thinking about these things is kind of important. It's not to say it's good or bad or either way, but another big influence actually was going through COVID and working alongside my wife, who's a public servant, and spending hours and hours listening to the kind of battles they have to get things right. Like there's an army of people really working hard to try and get it exactly right, which is obviously in any given situation such a complex undertaking. And there's certainly a lot of goodwill in there mixed in amongst the inefficiencies. So it's a curious thing to consider, the necessity of this thing that's at its base incredibly inefficient, but at the same time this incredible goodwill of all these really smart people trying to think about all the different stakeholders and trying to make it work as best as they can for as many of those stakeholders. And I have to say, after that experience of, because it extended beyond COVID, hearing these conversations go on and on, I certainly have a newfound respect for this frustrating bureaucracy, or this web of bureaucracies that I think we often do take for granted a little bit. But
well, there's a lot from the outside. There's a lot that isn't seen.
No.
And I guess the more that you can see, the more that you understand. So there's a lot of the non-understanding element, because there's so much that you can't be privy to as well, I suppose, in that. And loaded with hierarchy. So out of the pair of you as a duo, is there a hierarchy in the bureaucrats?
Peter, what do you reckon?
Depends who is stepping on whose toes at the time.
I'd say in those first performances, my toes were on the underside. I was being stood on for the most part. I seem to recall.
You have steel caps in there, or any
no
PPE, personal
I think, to circle back to the beginning, I think we both bring very essential things to the project. And it is we both have our kind of strengths, and like any good collaboration, we tussle over things, and quite literally in the performances, but it's one of my favorite art projects that I've done. I think it's just great working with Peter and having his energy on the other side of my idiotic overthinking.
And just with coming up with the concepts, and I guess because it is performative as well, is that all, like, were there many takes of that work, or was there a moment where let's just talk about this, but ad lib how, the whole way through, or, did you have moments where you sort of had some direction of what you were going to create and perform in that two and a half or so minutes?
Yeah, it's a good question as well, because it is all of that, but it's quite sketchy and impromptu at the same time. So a couple of the first examples that Ben explained, where we did one for the RMIT Students Performance Night and also for Dust Capital, we did do little thumbnail sketches and talk about the actions. I think we even had the title there earlier, which was Signs of Agreement, which was kind of the action that happened at the end of the stepping on toes to get to the briefcase to sign the document.
And stamp.
And sorry, the stamp, yes.
Yeah.
Important stamp.
I think it's broader than that too, though, isn't it? It's not just the literal signing of agreement, but the overall gesture has different ways of considering agreement, and the standing on each other's toes could be seen as something simultaneously supportive and disruptive at the same time, and then holding each other up and yet sort of pushing each other over incidentally. And it's there's the kind of literal signing, but there's also the metaphorical overall gesture, I'd argue.
So
sorry, Peter, I interrupted.
I'm sorry. That's good. That's good. I was just going to say that, those sort of gestures are kind of conceived in our mind, and maybe we had a couple of thumbnail sketches that we shared on our phones or on to each other. But a lot of it happened in the site or in the place. So we knew that we were going to get to that act of signing, but all the little bit, and we had our little props, such as the leaf roller you mentioned, or the condom, and we knew that we were going to use it, but we didn't have it so structured that we knew where and when. It was something that we felt and did on the spot. And
so it comes quite naturally in a sense.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And with the video we did, for the video take that you have, I think we've got 3 or 4 versions that we've made on the 3 or 4 takes. Yeah, I think it's one take that's in that video. Yeah. I might be
Spent a few hours doing it. Sore toes afterwards, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet. Now, before we sort of head to questions from the floor, Ben, you mentioned in our little chat just before going live that there was something you wanted to touch on. We were talking about your website and the origins, bureaucratic.
It was, I suppose I've touched on it.
I'm just trying to, but my phone's cutting off the whole URL. So yeah, just sort of touch on that if you like, before we kind of
I mean, I think I sort of touched on that briefly already. It's just the I think there's a slightly ongoing concern of not conflating the two projects too much. Like, they're very much related. The BOOreaucrats came out of this parent project, the Bureau for the Organisation of Origins, but the whole essence of that parent project is that it's not about Peter and I. But again, you can have an ideal for a project, and you can even make that ideal manifest, but it doesn't always flow on like that. And so people often just want to ascribe, who put that together, who made that? And I mean, the origins of it came out of my PhD project, but sort of became this other thing.
Yeah,
it's important that it is that other thing, which is this this different model for considering curatorial model. So that with each iteration, and you can have a look through the projects on the website, there'd be a sort of seed idea. That the most recent in 2023 now, was it? Was the origin of the image. I mean, the sense of that project is what does it mean to have an office bureau that's devoted to origins? Like, at what point it's kind of so mad to consider having that. It's almost Kafkaesque or an Orwellian sort of thing of considering that there'd be a whole government bureau that's designed to define where you're from. And I think I think dealing with those ideas in from all the different perspectives, not just from our perspective, is important. So there's been a 70 or 80 odd artists that have contributed to that project from all over the world. I mean, largely Australia, but from different backgrounds and things. And it's really about asking those questions around why that's such an important thing for people or not, depending on where you're at. You know, it's a very complex set of ideas and things to consider. So it's not easily definable, and I think that whole project is about that. And so again, because of the energy that Peter and I putting into that project, we just wanted to make work as part of that. And so the BOOreaucrats sort of slipped out of the side of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That sort of gives us a bit more context.
I hope that cleared it up. It's not always clear.
No. So I have one last question, two actually, but so the BOOreaucrats, the next board meeting to discuss really important government origin business, who's sitting at the boardroom table for you?
Faceless bureaucrats.
That's well done, well answered. And what's any pearls of wisdom that you both would like to share with the audience in terms of your practice?
Sign your documents.
And when you work.
Authorship.
I think holding a space of uncertainty is, for me, in many aspects of my personal practice, as well as the way I perceive our collaboration, is really key. I think we, as a culture, and I think just human beings, we need certainty, and so we'll often get a shallow view of something and rush to a certain view of it. And so many things now and before, being open to different things and sitting with complexity and what's it called, cognitive dissonance, this sort of holding space for two things being true at the same time. It's a sort of, if you look at the work we do, it's kind of in under there quietly, perhaps. So it's not what is this about, it's more about what questions emerge from these different gestures that we do.
Thank you. All right, let me look at the if there's questions from the floor. And just bear with me. So looking back at your younger self, what's the best advice you would give?
Peter?
Yeah. Or can you talk in unison as the BOOreaucrats?
That's I would say don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try things. Experiment, play, and don't wait.
Don't wait.
Okay.
I'm not beyond the holding uncertainty thing. I think I've got nothing to add. That was perfect, Peter.
Okay, well, I think I'm either looking in the wrong spot. No further questions, but one thing I do want to just sort of share with our audience is the you still have time to vote for your favourite.
Oh, yes.
Favourite in the people.
Vote for us.
So voting closes on the 14th of this month, and then we'll have the winners announcement on the 25th, Thursday, and all of the awards will be announced that night, including the People's Choice. We still have some more public programs. We've got more from the artist talks happening over the coming weeks, and there is a Create Up Late message in a vessel collage workshop with another finalist in the SNAP exhibition, C.E. Shen, and that's Friday the 12th of September. 6 p.m. It's $40. Just go on the gallery's website to book, and same with RSVPing for the winners events, and of course the People's Choice Award. Now, people can follow the BOOreaucrats on social media. So on Insta, you are the BOOreaucrats. I feel I haven't pronounced that right. The BOOreaucrats is on Instagram. So jump on and follow both Peter and Benjamin as the BOOreaucrats, and it's good to keep an eye on the journey and see what's next, and look forward to seeing you up here on the coast and what outcomes will come of that visit. Is there any last words for you both before we sign off?
See you on the 25th. Come and say hi at the event. Yeah, that was to the population of the Sunny Coast.
Oh, Sunny Coast.
Don't be shy.
Thank you once again, both of you, Peter and Benjamin, the BOOreaucrats, finalists in this year's Sunshine Coast National Art Prize. I'd like to thank our sponsors for contributing to such a wonderful creative arts initiative, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Please tell your friends, and stay safe, and hope to see you in the gallery soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks, Nina.
Bye now.
Thank you.